Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. I'm your host, Michelle White, and this evening we are going to be exploring student guides to success with none other than Alcott Germany II, who is our guest this evening, who has written a phenomenal book called Real World 101, the Student Guide, and we're going to be talking about that. But before we get started, we want you to know we thank you, number one, for tuning in right here to Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. You're watching us live, and we're streaming on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all top streaming platforms. And we want you to continue to watch and always hit like, follow, subscribe, and share. And we thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And you can call us tonight at 313-355-6018. So be sure and call into the studio. We're still getting calls sometimes when we're not on air. While we're on air at 313-355-6018, dial the number then. 313-355-6018. If you've got questions, go and grab your student youth, your grandchildren, those in college, tell them to tune in. We're going to be giving some great information for those who are seeking to go to college, those who are already currently in college, maybe working, preparing to go into college for this coming semester, and those currently in. So we're going to be talking about some great things here with Alcott Germany II. And you know, I always share various things that are happening in the community. There has been so much. I've never seen Section 8 housing opportunities like there are right now. And so go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page, Michelle Turner White on Facebook, and Michelle White Turner on Instagram. And you can see a lot of job information. People are saying, I can't find a job. I don't understand why. Because maybe you need to revamp your resume if you have one. Or be sure and add a cover letter. Be sure and add your references. We are no longer in the time where you say, I'm going to wait and give you references after you ask for them. Give me everything I need. As the employer, give it all to me up front, because there's too many people looking for a job. So be sure and add your references. Put your computer software and programs and things that you know, put that information on your resume. But I've listed a lot of job information, a lot of different events and activities. Even WJZZ has a jazz summit that's going to be next weekend at the Eastern Campus of Wayne County Community College District. That's posted to the page as well. So come on out to the jazz summit that WJZZ is hosting at the Eastern Campus of Wayne County Community College District in the Detroit, Michigan area. It's over on Connor and I-94, and they're going to be different jazz artists. So those of you who have been asking me, hey, WJZZ is back, and we want you to come on out to the events, to the pool parties. Go to WJZZ Facebook page or their Instagram page, and you can keep abreast of all the various things that are happening on WJZZ. They got pool parties every Saturday night. You need to call, you need to go and check it out. I think this Saturday they won't have one because of the Jazz Summit, but there'll be artists and different live artists. Everything will be live. Come on out to the Eastern Campus of Wayne County Community College District this Saturday and enjoy, have some fun. Go to the Facebook page at WJZZ on Facebook, Instagram, or go to Wjzz Cool TV, and you can see information about all the things happening. So again, Dr. Regina will not be with us this evening, but I'm your host, Michelle White, and I'm here. And again, feel free, write down the number, 313-355-6018. We want to hear from you, so be sure and call in tonight. We know you've got questions. We know you've got things you want to share. Maybe even you have some topics or subjects or guests that you would like to see us have right here on Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. Give me a call at 248-238-4863, or feel free to text me 248-238-4863. So let's get right into our guest this evening, Alcott Germany II. We thank you for coming and being our guest this evening, and we are looking forward to hearing about all the wonderful things that you're going to share and help our students or student population with how they can matriculate better through the system and learn some things that maybe weren't taught in school. So tell us how you got started with this book, Alcott.
First of all, thank you for having me. This is an honor and a privilege to be here, especially as a native Detroiter. Wjzz was a part of my childhood and my upbringing, and I can only imagine what my dad is thinking. He passed away in 2019, God rest his soul, but to be in this studio is nothing short of amazing, and I still can't even believe I'm here. Now let's get to your question. What inspired this? Let's see, this is the second publication. I know we share a little bit of this offline, where I originally wrote this in 2008 as an independent author, and I didn't go into 2008 thinking that I was going to write a book at all. And that's the thing that's really interesting about it. I have an undergrad in chemical engineering from the University of Detroit Mercy.
And actually, I'm looking at it now saying, I didn't read his bio. Right. Let me share a little bit of your bio.
Okay.
So Alcott Germany II is the native Detroiter and the founder of Instructional Design Solutions, LLC. Germany believes strongly in finding new ways to present simple solutions for complex problems. And he loves using real-world examples that connect his audience to his message. So this approach has allowed him to have career success as an engineer, a business consultant, and mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs. He has a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Detroit Mercy and a master's degree in education from the University of Phoenix. And so Alcott has dedicated his life to learning new ways to innovate by understanding the needs of others. Being a genius isn't about what you know, it's about understanding what you don't. I like that. Accepting the fact that you don't have all the answers is how you will come to obtain them. So Germany says that he has worked for several companies, and as the founder and CEO of Instructional Design Solutions, Germany focuses on developing training solutions for businesses, schools, and nonprofit organizations. And he's using his latest breakthroughs in technology and instructional design. Again, Mr. Alcott Germany II, we thank you for being here. Our condolences on the loss of your father. That wasn't that long ago. But you get to carry on the legacy.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Awesome. So you were telling us how you came to start this particular project, this book project?
Along the, and thank you for reading that bio, along the way, I really start to grow as a person in having these questions on the purpose of what all these things I'm being asked to learn, or all these things I've been encountering, whether they were experiences in industry, whether they were experiences just in the home, whether they were experiences in family. And in that space, I had a chance to really build on the discipline of learning how to apply the things that that I've been learning. Okay. So chemical engineering, what stuck out, and I'm gonna break this down piece by piece because it really does tie into your question. Is I decided to go into chemical engineering because I didn't want to pick a particular discipline of engineering. And chemical engineering requires you. Yes, it requires you to take mechanical engineering courses, electrical engineering courses, and understand chemistry, mathematics, things of that nature. And I didn't want to be limited. Okay. And along that way, I was sharing with, folks who were going to school with me, young adults who are still trying to find their own way, and sharing with them the things that I've been learning. Not just what I've been learning academically in the classroom, but hey, this is what I can actually do with my life. And so in that space, long story short, I took a job in Albany, Georgia. Shout out to that community. That's
Okay.
Southwest Georgia. And I was actually speaking, doing a lot of public speaking, just from a mentorship standpoint. I was working at Procter & Gamble as a logistics manager at 25. And in speaking, in these schools, we were talking about the content of 101. We were literally talking.
You were developing your book without even realize you were
without
developing
even
it.
realizing it, and that's what made it so awesome to see that these students were so galvanized by the content, by just going through the nuances of helping everyone understand it's okay to ask the question, why are you teaching me this? Like, because everything that's in the book has already been taught. It's about us taking what's already been written and turning it into something great. And so that was really my approach at all these schools. And so it was the audience, it was the students in those classes coming up to me saying, can we get more? Can we have something else?
Okay.
And in that same span was when I decided to go to grad school for education.
Okay.
Because that was really more my passion, more so than engineering. I went to engineering school just to prove that it can be done. I've been fortunate enough to be the first male in my family to graduate from college.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I remember, and then lo and behold, my dad actually went to UAD.
Okay.
And so it was very poetic that I felt like I was able to finish what he had started in me.
Yeah.
And so in that same vein, that was really the entire purpose for Real World 101 was to come back and tell everyone, not I can do it so you can do it too, but this is what you want to be able to answer in those moments for yourself that allowed me to achieve the things I needed to achieve. And so
So you're helping to empower students to take
100%.
control of their future.
100%. If there's one thing that I really, one of the things that also as a part of my bio, I call it the student-centered learning method. And what that means is teaching through the eyes of the student. Like the teacher in the classroom is just the lead student in the classroom. And in that, and when you speak through that perspective, now there's not as much intimidation. There's more of an approachability. There's more of a connection with the people in the room. When you think about some of the most effective learning that you'll ever have is when you're at the study table with other students trying to learn and understand the content the same way you're trying to. And so that's always been my approach, even in my industrial career. And so in that space.
And you said something very important.
Yes, ma'am.
Study groups.
Yes.
I'm an educator as well, and currently work at, I'm an executive in a college. And I cannot tell you how often it is a surprise to the students when I tell them the importance of forming study groups.
Study groups.
Don't wait for someone else to say it. You start it.
Yeah.
And get the number of about 5 students, because 3 of them might drop the class.
Right.
2 of them might
Right.
drop. So get 5 numbers.
You need them.
And form a study group, especially if you're in any kind of medical program, engineering program, so you can play off of each other and do word and study the words, everything.
It's the dress rehearsal for your career.
Exactly.
There's not a single moment in my career where I was working alone. And those are the kind of things you want to build. Those are the habits. Those are the intangibles you want to build in your scholastic career.
Yes.
And that to me is really the key foundation to Real World 101 and what inspired the write of it. These students were talking to me about, wow, I'm having these questions. This was great discussion. Is there more out there? Did you write a book? I'm like, no, actually I didn't. But to see that there was such a demand and there was such a passion for it, and I remember, and I want to give a shout out to my cousin in Atlanta. I remember.
Now, where do you currently reside?
I reside in Detroit now.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Back here.
I'm back home.
Okay, welcome back.
I lived in Georgia for 5 years.
Okay.
And after becoming a logistics manager at a company called Procter & Gamble, you may have heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
I
Just a little bit.
after I went to grad school for education, I also learned from the teachers in that program that the things that I was talking about weren't readily available. I thought that I was late to the party. And so to see that the things that I was sharing with other teachers around the country.
You were starting a discussion.
Yeah.
You were leading.
I had teachers that were writing me back saying, that thing you brought up in the discussion we had, and shout out to University of Phoenix for building that kind of model. The teachers were telling me how they were applying the things that I was saying in their classrooms, and it was working.
Awesome.
And so I'm like, wow, that's a blessing.
Yes.
I didn't realize that was a demand. And so after I graduated, I actually I resigned from Procter & Gamble to start Instructional Design Solutions, LLC. I moved into my cousin's attic at the time, and I wrote the book in her attic. And it
nice,
was
quiet space.
Nice, quiet space. It was a pillow, comforter.
You had what you needed
Laptop,
to get it done.
And it just flowed because that is also when I think about how the book is written. It's written in a conversational tone.
Okay.
It's so I don't want anyone to pick this book up and feel like they're being lectured. If you were to write a book report after reading this book, you would be writing about yourself. That was how I designed it. It's not about Alcott, it's not about the content in and of itself, it's about you. And so that's really what inspired it. It was a way to capture those conversations and put them in a narrative.
And I see here from the book, it says you're bringing about that dialogue so that people will understand how to seize control of their own life by learning how to make those unpopular school subjects work for them.
Correct.
Can you also tell us, I love that, and so the more you educate yourself and the fewer parents you will have in your future.
Yeah.
And this is a great read for aspiring young adults, containing great lessons that will last a lifetime. What are some of the things that the instructors found that they were able to, tools that they were able to use in the classroom?
It was the connection of the content to what a student's perspective would be. So if a student doesn't walk into the room knowing why they're being told to learn algebra, but when you start to break down, like, you know what, this algebraic equation has these letters and these facts and figures in them. Well, let's talk about how to use logic in how you can apply variables to your life. Doesn't mean that we're going to skip chapter 1, but as we go through this and you start having your questions around, like, wait a minute, what is algebra and what does that mean to anybody about anything? As a teacher, not being intimidated by that starts the connection. It builds the trust, and it builds the inquisitive nature of the student to be able to say, hey, you're not just doing this to get a check or to check a box. And
you're helping me apply.
You're helping me apply
real world situations.
And
so even balancing checkbooks and things that aren't being taught in school.
Correct.
You're able to show applications of how they can take various subjects that they're learning and apply it.
And be open to the conversation. So one low-hanging fruit, science. People run away from biology and people run away from chemistry. But think about how often we see science. And going back to the passing of my father, how more confident would you be if you were able to connect the kinds of things you're asked to learn in the classroom to the conversations you have to have with that physician trying to take care of someone you love? Like that changes your rationale as to why you should learn something. They'll say, well, what does that have to do with earth science? Well, earth science actually does play into a bio component. But it's once you start breaking down those walls and those barriers, you'll start to want to learn other things for yourself. And I have examples of that. But those are the kinds of stories that, if you're not running away from them as an instructor or just as an adult, where you're seeing a young adult trying to find their way, that opens the curiosity and the desire to put the work into learning it for more than just getting a grade.
And instructors are I won't say challenged, but they have to find more creative ways in which to instruct students today, because so much we're such a internet society and technical that 3-year-olds aren't the same 3-year-olds from 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
I was sharing my when one of my grandchildren was 3 years old, he was taught me how to talk text on my phone.
Right.
At 3.
Right.
At 10, he was showing me how to navigate the computer in my car. And I said, well, how do you know how to do that? Because you don't even drive.
Right.
He said, Granny, it's a computer.
It's a computer.
So it's a different way that faculty have to teach, and students, the whole student learning process has changed in just in how it needs to be applied and navigated. So your book, I know, is helping both the student and the faculty to kind of bridge that gap and giving some real world situations and solutions.
And it's not tied to shying away oh my goodness, it's not allowing you to shy away from the challenge, because no instructor is going to have all the answers. But if you're willing to say, you know what, you bring up a good point, I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, that in and of itself is the first step in innovation. You know, you bring up instructors. One of the first sections of the book, and I'll call it the preface, it's called A Letter to Parents. And in that excerpt, it's actually explain to parents the kind of ride we're about to get on with your young adult in this book, and that in the goal of it, it's you know, and I'm going to skip.
So it's a book for parents as well as
it's for everyone.
So it's this book. This is the book. If you can see it here, we have some right here on our table, but it's called Alcott, Germany, the Second's Real World 101 Student Guide. You can get your copy today. You can go, where can they get a copy of this book?
Oh, all the platforms. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon. I know that's a very popular site. Target and Walmart even have it on their online sites, and eventually there will be some available in brick and mortar as well.
Awesome.
City of Books, who's also the publisher of the book, they have a website and a bookstore as well. But all the
we're gonna share it again. So you have been traveling the country promoting this book. I think I was looking at one of your promo pieces. You were at the Los Angeles Festival of Books. And you had 100 people in line when you got started.
It was. I was blown away. The LA Festival of Books is, if not one of the largest, it's probably the largest book festival in the country.
Awesome.
And in that space, so I was invited there as a featured author for an hour Saturday and Sunday. I was the first author presented. So my wife and I get there 10 a.m. We're like, no one's getting here at 10 a.m. Lo and behold, line wrapped around, and we had a ball. And you know, some of the pictures. All
for your book.
All for my book. All for my
awesome.
book. We went through 200 copies in 2 hours.
Wow.
And I share this story because if you go to my website, you'll see the pictures from it. I even had a student from USC.
Give us your website again.
AlcottGermanyTheSecond.com.
AlcottGermanyTheSecond.com. Spell it for us, please.
ALCOTT Germany GermanyII.com. And I couldn't be happier with just the engagement from parents, from students of all ages. I was asked to choose a target audience, so I said, let's start with teenagers. Let's start with young adults. I had students from middle school all the way up. I had adults reading. I had there's a picture.
Middle school, that's important.
Middle school is
because huge. Students need to start looking. Do not wait until 12th grade, 11th grade to start thinking about your college, how you're going to matriculate through the next part of your educational endeavors. You've got to start early,
100%.
like junior high, elementary school, preparing. Start your children to do community service early. Can I say early? One more time. Early. If they want to become a doctor, I am one of the interviewees for our Wayne State's medical students to get into medical school. And my area is, where are they involved in community service? What are they doing for the community? Are they engaged in anything? So you have to start early.
You have to.
But and so I'm glad that you had students of all ages,
All
parents,
ages,
and
all
everything.
ages, and to see there's a student, and I remember his name vividly because it was. This is why I was there. I wasn't there to sign books. I was there to meet people and to have a student from USC. This was a USC student, because it was on the campus of USC.
Okay.
And not only was he there, he didn't even want the autograph. He just wanted to talk to me. He had he got the book and read it while at the festival. The whole
Read
thing,
it while in line.
and then wanted to just talk about what he should do next with his.
Now that's a
scholastic.
motivated student.
That's
We need more students. All of the students need to be like that. Motivated, read it while in line, was ready to. I'm not going to spend my time talking about anything. I want to talk to you.
You want to talk to me, and even gave a critique.
Wow.
I was. It was such a rewarding experience because that's why I wrote it. It wasn't to be right. It was to drive change and to help students understand that the questions that we know they're asking are questions they should ask because that's why they're there. And the more you ask that question, the more we as instructors, parents, teachers embrace those questions, whether we know the right answers or not, the more they will engage and not go through other avenues to get answers to questions they don't need to ask. Because that's right now what I feel like we're running into when we say, well, why is my child over here? Well, it's because when they had a chance to be right here and ask the question, no one cared to give them an answer because they just wanted them to fall in line. And we have to be embraceful of the things that are happening with our technology. Our technology now allows for our young people to see every corner of the world. We didn't have that kind of exposure. That to be able to, I don't think human behavior has changed, but our access to the world has. Drastically.
Yes, and students are traveling more with study abroad and very, young adults traveling, various organizations. They're traveling. I met a gentleman at college just yesterday where I work, and his first time traveling, and his first trip is going to be to Australia.
Wow.
Very first trip.
That's amazing. That's on my bucket list, by the way. Funny that you say that. I actually will be traveling to Frankfurt, Germany.
Awesome.
In October. Now, that's the largest book fair in the world.
Okay.
And I'll be featured for a full day instead of just for 2 hours.
That is a blessing. Look at you on the international platforms already.
Right.
Now, how long has this book been out?
So, the first publication has been out since 2008.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, this City of Books discovered the book last year.
Okay.
They gave me a call. I thought they were like a spam caller or something, but lo and behold, I picked up the phone.
Don't hang up on any spam calls.
Don't hang up on anything. And I don't know what made me pick that one up, but they asked, my name, and I had a registered copyright, so I owned all the rights to the book. And what was very intriguing was they were telling me what the book was about. They weren't just talking. I was like, wow.
They had read it thoroughly.
Yes, they had read it, and they was like, we think that there's still a lot of people who would not only benefit from it, but we can tell that there's untapped potential. At the time, I was available on Amazon still, and they said, well, Mr. Jeremy, just so you know, every review you've ever had has been 5-star, including the ones you've never seen.
Wow.
So it was like, we have access to viewership that's not posted on the Amazon site.
Okay.
And those are 5-star as well. And I was like, well, that's awesome. And so
and you didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
Look at God.
And I'm gonna share this story as to why. You might ask, like, so why so long? And I remember, at the time I was an independent author. I had, moved, several copies. I had a lot trying to push the company as well. And I remember things not going as well as I would have liked, but the message that came to me was I was speaking at the Teen Center. I used to speak at the Hype Teen Center in Detroit.
Okay.
And I had the books purchased by a sponsor. So I had a sponsor by the name of Mia Johnson who purchased it for the students in Detroit. And lo and behold, I ran into a student there. And I hope if she's watching, I I pray that I meet her again. I was walking through the library and she had tears in her eyes. I thought she might have been in danger because I do remember her from the teen center. I said, "Hey, is everything okay?" She had my book in her hand, and she said, "I just want you to I just want to let you know how much this book meant to me, and that it answered the questions that I had." And I remember in that moment, I said, if I never sold another copy, I was okay.
You did your job.
Yeah, I did my job. And so I really took it as, I did all of that for her.
Yeah.
And that's enough for me.
If I can just help one.
Yeah, if I could just help one. And so for this publishing company to find me, 15 years later, and now we're on the verge of not only republishing it, but in multiple languages. So I've already approved.
Congratulations.
This book is available in Spanish. Actually, it will also be released in Mandarin, Japanese, Arabic, French, Italian. There is a Korean.
Okay.
So
just across the globe.
And I recorded my first audio.
You got to get us some African books in there, in the African languages as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not stopping.
Right.
And German as well. I mean, there's audio books. I actually recorded my first audio book.
Awesome.
That's looking to be released in the coming, actually probably in another month or so.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm looking here at the table of contents, and I love this. It says, "What is this for?" Mathematics, social studies, science, and the arts. Because oftentimes, even in grade school, students are saying to themselves, what am I going to need this for? What am I going to need math and social studies? I'm not going to need that. And so your book goes into how you're going to need those things throughout life.
Yeah. And it also, it's okay to ask the question. Those were the same questions I asked, but I was, I guess to myself, not realizing that the more conversations that I was having with students, they had the same questions as well.
And then you give them how to get started and the things to listen out for.
Yeah.
What to tune your ears into when you're engaged in different groups or in college or in classes. And do you help them? What if you have shy students? I was working with a student yesterday who was very shy, and I was just showing her how to answer the phones. And she was so shy and got so nervous, she started crying.
Yeah.
And I'm, was really praying for her because she's just getting started to go into college. This will be her first semester in the fall.
Yeah.
But she's just nervous. And some of that comes, parents, don't shelter your children too much. Let them explore different things. Teach them how to answer the phone at home.
Right.
So they won't learn. A lot of things that children need to learn, you can still learn at home. That's where the basis should start. I share with my grandchildren all the time. They cannot say yeah in front of me. Yeah, no. What did you say? You mean yes. And they might not like it now, or they think I'm an old fuddy-duddy, but that's okay. Because when they need it, they're going to appreciate that I emphasized the importance of speaking the King's English correctly. Now, some people say, well, that sounds like you trying to sound white. No, I'm just trying to speak English. Just do it naturally, and it won't have to be something you have to work at.
Right. And that's the thing. I think, like you said, well, you're trying to sound like someone else. No, I'm trying to expose you, and let's not be intimidated by exposure.
Yes.
And to get to the example you brought up with that young student that was shy.
Yes.
One thing that grad school and experience have shown me is that education, and I'm going to tie it back to folks who don't know me. I've been fortunate enough to tutor in both mathematics and in the sciences.
Okay.
And I'm blessed to say that throughout my entire career, every student I've ever tutored has jumped 2 letter grades.
Awesome.
And they're like, well, how does that happen? Because most
2 letter grades.
2 letter
not
grades.
One,
not one,
but 2
letter grades. At first I thought it was a coincidence, then it kept happening. Because it wasn't a goal, it just kept happening. Like, you went from C to an A, you went from D to a B. Oh, but and they're like, how did it happen? I said, well, because I focused first on confidence. And the first thing, getting back to student-centered learning, one of the things I would start out with saying, and a lot of my students can attest to this, I said, let me help you understand something. Every mistake you think you're going to make, I've already made 100 times over in this particular subject.
Share that with the young lady
Right.
yesterday. I've made so many mistakes. I just made one yesterday.
Right.
Hung up on somebody.
Right. And so when I'm teaching or when I tutor, I tutor showing them the things that I did wrong when I was doing it. I said, you know, I'm not about to tell you to do it. It's more than one way to get to a solution, especially in mathematics.
Yes.
And so I'm like, you know what? I remember when I used to do it this way. You probably think I'm this good because I was just made like this. No, we all are born with gifts and talents, but I've learned to just learn from my mistakes quicker than others. And so when I'm speaking, saying, hey, I used to do this. Oh, you used to do that too? That's what I'm running into. Now they're enjoying the process.
Because they can relate. They know you're relatable.
Exactly. That's what I was sharing with the teachers at University of Phoenix as well. I said, if you start to help people understand, especially your students, that it's okay to make a mistake. The test is when you want to get stuff right. The homework is the time to get it wrong. And so when you actually go through the repetitions of getting it wrong and learning and helping people feel okay with it, most of the students that I've seen break down, especially in college, have been so programmed to do the best. And if you can't pull it off, you just may not be talented enough. That's where they start losing hope in themselves, and
And
it
our
shows in their
confidence,
academics.
keeping our confidence is really important.
Yep.
We have to constantly, people, our viewers, speak to yourself, speak positive affirmations to yourself. Always keep yourself uplifted. It doesn't matter how you feel or what's going on in your life. You are the most important. You are going to be, always be the best to yourself.
100%.
You can then help other people, but you've got to be the best to you first. So we thank you for tuning in right here to WJZZ Cool TV. You're watching Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts podcast. It's a great time for a segue.
Okay.
So you're watching us right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all streaming platforms. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And again, we thank you for tuning in to Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts right here on WJZZ, the coolest station in the world. And be sure and call us. Call tonight at 313-355-6018. Maybe you've got some questions. Maybe you got some comments you want to make. 313-355-6018. So I'm looking here at your chapter on Listen for What? And it says listening is one of the most positive aspects that separate great leaders from great executors. So, and that requires listening. My mother used to always say you have 2 ears to listen with, 1 mouth to speak with, so do more listening.
100%.
And it's so important, and it's important for us to do effective listening. That means I'm not going to wait to have a response. I need to be listening to what's being said. Respond, later, but tell us more about that.
One of the you may have heard this tagline before, and it's something that I've lived with for a long time. It says, if you want to be a leader, you have to understand what it means to follow. And you have to appreciate that. And the only way to understand what it means to follow is to never take yourself out of the shoe of the people who look to others for help and look to others for guidance. And along the way, to do that, or kind of jumping over my words a little bit, you have to stay listening. You have to stay humble. You have to stay vulnerable. And humble is not an enemy of confidence. I think some people try to confuse the two. It's not. But when you're trying to create an environment, leadership is all about that. It's actually what my new book is about. It's about making certain that you're creating an environment that allows others to surpass you, that allow others to create things that you may not have considered, but you're doing it because you're making it a safe space. You may hear that term a lot now. Creating a safe space for other people. The only way that happens is if you actually embrace their perspective. Be as excited for them and their ideas, even if they contrast your own. Don't break down if someone disagrees with you. That's a part of dialogue. Like dialogue isn't to just find the people who agree with you.
Right.
And so when we talk,
sometimes leaders do that. They only
100%.
want yes people
Right.
around them, but you need to have dialogue. You need someone who's not going to co-sign your mistakes.
Every time.
To say it nicely.
How often have we seen in some of the every level of leadership you can consider, how the moment you disagree, you become the enemy of the state? Like, that's not leadership. That's dictatorship. That is condescending. That is you trying to, allow your ego to impose itself on the people around you. Leading is all about bringing people with you and helping them be the next leaders of tomorrow. The whole time you're the leader and it's 40 years have passed and you're still the leader, then something is wrong with the leadership, right? Because these are the opportunities that you need to have when it comes to making certain you're creating a space where you're listening, you're growing, you're evolving, and you're creating a space for those successors. And so specifically to bring it to this particular book is leaders and executors. There's nothing wrong with executors, but there is a difference we're all leaders in our own right. It's just about how big of a leader we want to, how big of a presence we want to have. And so this particular excerpt is really challenging our thinking and our students' thinking on what level of awareness are you, encompassing around you. And when you start to think about how to apply education to your own life, this is all about listening. This is about not trying to just say, well, I'm trying to do me. No one's stopping you from doing you. But you're only as good as the information you have at your disposal. And the less information you have, the more other people will have to make decisions for you because you're not aware. So that's the whole metaphor about how many parents you want to have. It was a play on that. And even when we talk about Real World 101, I'm giving away the ending in this regard for those who are inquiring about it. It was a metaphor to play on the words where people would say, or parents would say in the old days, I'm trying to prepare you for the real world. No, the question you want to start asking is, how is the real world preparing itself for me?
I can say I'm the new force coming on.
Right. But you can't do that if you don't take the time to understand what's around you, if you don't take the time to respect those who've come before you and to take their successes and their failures and turn them into something special. And so being a listener and listening for what is listening to those who have done it before, listening, not agreeing with those who've done it before, but listening and seeing how you can take that and turn it into something that is more of a reflection of yourself. And I think as long as we don't keyhole or pigeonhole anyone into that space to where they have to do it a particular way, then that's when we start to move forward as a collective.
So true, so true. And listening is a key component in that, because if you know everything, nobody knows everything. So we've got to always be willing to still learn, and part of that learning process is the ability to listen.
My dad used to say all the time, I don't want to be that smart. And some people believe you do, and that's why the statement of being a genius isn't about what you know, it's about understanding what you don't, and embracing that. Once you start to, when you think about anyone who's ever done anything great historically that we've seen and has been put in the eyes of public anything, it's because they embraced the fact that they didn't know something, they figured that out, and then they applied it.
They got the answers and the resolve through learning.
100%.
So what are some of the how do you show people the rules of engagement, how to engage as they are learning, students learning the Real World 101?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is to always be inquisitive, but also do a self-assessment. Think about what is it that you think you're good at, what is it that you're passionate about. And if the answer to both of those is I don't know, great. That's where the work starts.
Find out where your passions lie.
Start finding out where your passions lie, and don't limit yourself. I want to share this story because for any young person listening.
Please.
For those, I remember I was in Georgia, speaking at a career fair. I had a student. I was speaking to a collection of students. They were young men. And I was the logistics manager at the time, and the student came to me and said, well, I just want to play basketball. I said, I love this. Let's play this out, because the last person that's going to shoot down your dream is going to be me. That's not how you're going to remember me. Mm-hmm. And so in that, I said, okay, given your size, I used to play ball too. What position would you play? And he talked about being a point guard. I said, okay, great. I love that. I played the 1-2. I said, now help me understand the role of a point guard. Mm-hmm. You have to understand the offense. You have to understand the defense. You have to understand when to insert yourself to score. You have to understand how to make people better and make certain that the ball is moving. You have to be the coach on the floor. Mm-hmm. I said, help me understand how that's any different than running a business. I said, you have to understand market demand. You have to understand your product. You have to understand how well to make your product. You have to understand the people you need to make your product great. You have to understand how to do it at a level of quality that will allow you to be better than the competition. You have to understand when to pivot, when the market shifts. Not even 30 seconds later, I'm sharing this story because sometimes people immediately go to, well, I'm passionate about this, so this is all I'm going to do. Your mind is too powerful to just focus on one thing. Not even 30 seconds. I didn't say anything else. 30 seconds later, he said, you know what, I always wanted to run my own garage. Now,
wow, he went from basketball to running his own garage.
Didn't mean that he wasn't still going to pursue basketball.
Right.
But when he went, I didn't mention car, I didn't mention garage, I didn't even mention garbage. I didn't even mention something that started with G. But just having that conversation alone, and his friends were around him, and they all was like, oh, really? Next thing you know, we started talking about how to run a garage, in addition to practice he got later, and giving him tips. And
he was putting it in the universe.
Yes.
And we have such power with our minds, with our mouths, that when we put things in the universe, then the universe will draw you to those things and allow them to manifest in your life. The opportunities, the doors will start to open. And so I'm sure they started to open for that young person too.
Yeah. They walked away having conversation about running a business.
Wow.
And I didn't tell them anything other than what exactly I'm quoting word for word that conversation. And so I think it's important when we start to say doing that assessment that you don't limit yourself. I didn't even know what an engineer was when I was in high school. I had to read about it. And then I said, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Oh, I can mess with this.
But you were probably pretty good in science.
Oh, yeah, I was.
In math.
I was not, but I was also the product of great teachers.
Okay.
I was a product. And I still, my favorite teacher to this day, I haven't talked to him in over 20 years. His name was Mr. Mavis, and I still teach mathematics the same way he taught me.
Okay. And even though they do math differently now.
Even though they do math differently,
you still keep
the
it
unit
the same.
circle is still the unit circle, and I can teach trig with the best of them. And it's interesting how certain things become a calling. So in my senior year of high school, because of what I had learned from those teachers, I taught an Algebra 1 class calculus. They didn't believe it. I actually gave them a real calc exam at the end, and I had 2 C's, I think, and the rest were A's and B's. The approach that I used was such a confidence builder. I remember not 5 and 10 years later, those students were coming back. So none of them, not a lot of them became engineers or mathematics students, but they would come back just to share that experience of how that changed how they look at things academically. And that started me on a path that eventually led to this book. This was probably like 10 years before I wrote this book.
Now let me ask you, we've got a few copies sitting right here. Are you able to give away 1 or 2 of these copies?
I brought these copies for your show.
Awesome.
I brought these copies
So you heard
show.
it here right now. You can get a copy of this book. Call in to 313-355-6018 and we've got a copy for you if you call. A copy for you, a copy for your grandchildren, your children, your whomever that might need this information. And this is for parents and students. To help you to know how to get through and navigate real world 101, the student guide. Get this for your students. I'm going to share this one with my grandchildren.
Yes, I was excited. And you want, I have no problem signing each of them.
Okay.
I just know that given I don't know who's going to get them, I typically like to personalize the message, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely sign them. But what you have in front of you is the hard copy, so we do have a hard copy and a paperback.
And a paperback.
But these are the hard copy ones. These are, they're just exploding. It's just like I didn't realize how many people love hard copies over paperbacks, but so I got a ton of hard
They
copies.
hold up better.
They just hold up better.
They do.
And so,
And we've got a
We got a
caller.
caller.
Yes. All right, caller. You're calling in for a book, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're calling in. Tell us your name, and then we're going to let you go back to the studios.
This is Prestina.
Okay, Prestina.
Yeah, Prestina.
Okay, Prestina. So we want to get you a copy of this book, and we thank you that you're tuned in right here on
Thank you.
WJZZ. And did you have any questions or comments that you wanted to ask our guest today, Alcott Germany II?
Okay.
Okay, can you hear us? Oh, you've got your radio on in the back. You need to turn it down. Can you hear me?
Awesome interview. Awesome interview.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you calling.
So we stay on the line with the, well, no.
No, that's actually the TV, but I can hear you.
Okay. I think I know who this Pristina is. Do I know you, Pristina? Okay,
Yes, you do.
I've got your number. We're going to make sure we get a book to you. And we thank you for calling in and for viewing, for watching the show.
Thank you, my sister.
Thank you. Have a good
Okay.
day. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's the first book gone. So we've got anybody else who wants to get a book of Real World 101, the student
Thank
guide.
you.
Thank you.
All
Talk to
right.
you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So next caller, you can feel free to call in right here on Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts, WJZZ Cool TV. Call 313-355-6018 and get your copy today of the Student Guide, Real World 101, the Student Guide. Get your copy today. Call in right now, 313-355-6018. So tell us a little bit more about the book before we, oh my goodness, we're almost out of time.
Oh my goodness.
It went by quickly.
I had a ball.
I did too. I did too. But so if anybody else wants a copy, or if they happen to call after hours, but try not to call after hours. We're here from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WJZZ Cool TV. Tell us again how they can get a copy of your book if they want to go through Amazon,
Yes.
all the regular bookstores, and what is your website?
Yes, my website is alcottgermany2nd.com. That's ALCOTTGERMANYII.com. And you can find links to a lot of the sites, because actually there are links to Amazon on that site. There's links to the City of Books site. There's links to Walmart as well. But you can find it at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, as well as Powell's bookstore, which is actually a big one. And so we're everywhere where you can find it.
So this is around the country.
This is around the country.
Around the country, you can go right now and get this book,
Yeah.
Real World 101, the Student Guide by none other than Alcott Germany II.
Please leave your feedback as well. Please leave a review. I would love to hear you. I'm also available on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram, Alcott Germany II, and you can also find me on LinkedIn at Alcott Germany II. So
And you can sign my book, sir.
I
you can
certainly
wait till
will.
afterwards.
It will be a very well-written, personalized message.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again for being our guest. Thank you everyone for tuning in right here to WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You've been watching Community Updates and Enlightened Hearts. We're here every Wednesday, 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WJZZ Cool TV. We will see you next week. I'm not sure who our guest is next week, but tune in. Keep a lookout on our Facebook pages and Instagram pages, and you can see. Thank you again for tuning in,
All over the earth, God is
WJZZ.
raising up a new breed of wealth builders who will use
Are
their
we
money
out?
to shape the course of world history without building a gold.
Yep.
All right.